from the World Center of Racing in Daytona Beach, Florida. It is a beautiful Thursday evening on the eve of the biggest race, the NR2003 FlowMaster Grand Touring Championship season. We get ready to set the grid for the Roar Before the 2.4 here at the World Center of Racing. Here on the North American Sim Racing Network, Trey Wright on the call for the NASRN as we get set to set the order here for qualifying for the FlowMaster Grand Touring Championship season opener, the Mike's Hard Lemonade 2.4 Hours of Daytona. And so many different storylines to get into with Eric Monaco in the Big Red Machine already out there in car number 2. One of 30 different cars here in GT Le Mans, and that is one of several new rule changes here for 2026 for the FMGTC. It's Monaco and the brand new Big Red number 2 machine will go back out onto the oval. Emily York Watson will go a little bit off track there in the 08. We'll get things back and organized. Running up right behind her, the 64 machine of Pedro Sabato will get to the inside of that 08 car. So we'll wait and see everybody rolling off of the starting grid. First and foremost, welcome back everybody to watching this evening's coverage of FMGTC qualifying here. And like we said, we do have a little bit of a roar before the Daytona 2.4s. We've got to figure out who we're going to be. 21 cars competing in the Daytona 2.4 as a new rule change here for 2026 for both classes. Got 30 cars in GTLM and 30 cars in GT Daytona. GT Daytona qualifying will be directly after this. But a couple of different rule changes here. For both classes, like we said, 30 drivers will now be a part of each class, but only 21 will qualify for each race, opposed to the 21 full-time drivers we had in 2024 and 2025. It's a little slow getting out of the grid there. That's going to be the 33 of Roberto Crown Jr., and he might have already blown an engine here in practice or qualifying. So that's going to really hurt Roberto Crown Jr. in terms of potentially setting a decent lap time to set the starting order for the Daytona 2.4, the Roar Before the 2.4. Which is what the heat race for tonight will be called. We are going to be having heat races all season long, and this is how the qualifying format is just going to work here for tonight. We'll explain the qualifying format for the rest of the season later on in the weekend, probably during the GT Daytona qualifying here with about 12 minutes to go in GTLM qualifying, but pretty much the fastest lap here in practice will set the grid for the Daytona or the Roar Before the 2.4. It's going to be, which is going to be a pair of 23 lap races for either class. So it'll be a 23 lap race for GT Le Mans and a 23 lap race later on for GT Daytona. Those will be later tonight here on the NASRN. But suffice it to say, there'll be 30 cars fighting for 21 spots, and that will set the grid for the Daytona 2.4 Hours, the Mike's Hard Lemonade 2.4 Hours of Daytona. It's a little bit complex, and we'll go ahead and explain all of it all throughout the night, but suffice it to say, expanding the field, 60 different drivers coming to the World Center of Racing trying to dethrone Daniel Bouchard and Mike Vincent Jr. as winners of this race from 2025. And speaking of Mike Vincent Jr., trying to see if that 78 machine is out on the track, and he indeed is. 3 wins in 2025 for that number 78 machine, including this race. Won it over Sarah Taylor by 1/1000th or 9/1000ths of a second. Not as close as it could be, but still very, very close. A margin of victory for Mike Vincent Jr. and pretty much had the points lead wire to wire. About 10 minutes to go in qualifying. Top of the board, that's going to be the 20 of Mateus Bento will be driving that Napa number 20 machine here in 2026. There's Sarah Taylor, runner-up in this event 1 year ago in the 45. A new look for Reggie Fogelman, now driving the number 11 machine. With the Greg Biffle throwback, one of 2 Greg Biffle throwbacks on the grid here for this season. There's the 07 newcomer of Taylor Lay, development driver or not really development driver, but just a sort of teammate for John Andrews. Drove for John Andrews' truck team of the Loves American Truck Series a couple months ago. Kasumi Takashi, one of 2 different drivers in GTLM, have transitioned over from GT Daytona. Takashi will be driving the U.S. Air Force number 7 here. Eric Monaco goes to the top of the board with Chris Harvey right now on the outside of row number 1. With 9 minutes to go here in qualifying, there's Joey Hightower in the number 27 Jaguar factory entry. Michael Lewis going from the 56 down to the 54. With Ryobi coming on the car, and a nice looking paint scheme there. It's going to be the exact same paint scheme that he will run for the Mission Barbecue Cup Series with Mal Racing coming over to the MBCS for 2026. There's the Colonel, Caleb Rose, right in front of him, so a couple of Jaguars nose to tail. Kyle Wood, brother of Joseph Wood, will be driving the number 49 PLP Chevrolet Corvette in 2026. And Roberto Crown Jr., glad to see him back out on the track to try to set a decent lap. He got shoved off the perch there by the 5 of Rose. As we go through the rest of the field, there's Russell Blaze, a couple of wins in the Loves American Truck Series this past season. He'll be driving the number 86 machine, taking over for Justin Williams. And there's the 04 of Luna Farmer and that 04 Nikon Jaguar. Pretty easy to spot that machine from a mile away. Same thing from another Greg Biffle throwback. This is Bryce Egan and the number 16 Safety Clean Chevrolet Corvette. Couple of Greg Biffle throwbacks on the grid, like we said. There's the 02, James Lawson taking over for Dano Georgi, with Dano Georgi slotting back over to the Mission Barbecue Cup Series and just going to be running full-time in there. There's Philip Torres in the number 4 machine, Emily York Watson, and the 64 of Pedro Sabato, like we said. There's Angel Gutierrez, the most recent winner here in the FMGCC. Won the season finale a month ago at the Riverside International Raceway, getting a nice draft off the rear end of Bradley Ream. Owen Miles, John Andrews, and Nathan Stapleton are back in their respective rides. 2 Corvettes and a Jaguar. Riley Sampson will jump to the top of the board to surpass that 2 machine of Eric Monaco by 1/1000th of a second. So we got the 1/1000th of a second in there somewhere. Zachary Fitzwater back in the 62 for 2026, but a new driver in the number 12. That's going to be the other driver coming over from GT Daytona, Bruno Diacomo, now driving Michelle Gavinew's number 12 Granger Jaguar. Chris Harvey in the 8. There's Riley Sampson, currently top of the board, getting a little bit of a draft off the 22 of Anthony Joseph. And it looks like we might have another issue on the 33, but no. Roberto Crown Jr. will just come back to put on some fresh tires. Logan Williams in the 6. I think that's going to pretty much round out the entire field for GTLM with 6:30 to go in qualifying for the Roar Before the 2.4. And the way that qualifying is going to work here for the Roar Before the 2.4, for the heat race, I should say, the qualifying race, we'll just call it the qualifying race. Top 21 advance into the Daytona 2.4, and the grid will be set based off of lap times from that event. So let's say Philip Torres will finish 4th in the Roar Before the 2.4. If he gets the fastest lap, he will sit on the pole for the Daytona 2.4. It's a little bit confusing, but that's for me to worry about, and we'll, of course, go over what everything will be, but it'll be the fastest times of the top 21, and the drivers that fail to finish, their times will be used for the next heat race at Willow Springs. It's a little bit, again, it's a little bit confusing, and that's not set in stone for the season. We're just going to try it out here at Daytona, see how it goes, and if that's not the way, then we'll probably just do qualifying and a heat race like we're doing right now for the other 11 races on the season, instead of just recycling everything over. But right now, Owen Miles, top of the board. John Andrews goes over the curves, and that's going to ruin Miles' chances potentially getting a faster lap time. There he is right now on the apron trying to transition back up on to the 31 degrees of banking here at Daytona. Nice little bump draft there from Angel Gutierrez on the back end of Bradley Ream. He nearly clipped the 40 machine just a little bit. So we'll see if that's going to be a fast lap time there for Angel Gutierrez. But right now it's Owen Miles and Riley Sampson, fastest two cars, and would sit on the front row for the Daytona to the Aurora before the 2.4. And currently Roberto Crown Jr. a 4-minute 23 time. Yeah, he has been struggling immensely out there in car number 33. I think, did he blow another engine? I think he's still on his outlap, so trouble in paradise for that Great Clips number 33 machine of Roberto Crown Jr., who is just still trying to find his footing. Yeah, I think he might have still had an engine issue. He's going to be right in the middle of the bus stop, so this is going to be an intense situation as he gets run over there by the 22 of Anthony Joseph, right in front of Riley Sampson. So a bad qualifying effort has gone immensely worse for Roberto Crown Jr., and he will likely start 30th. And again, he's just trying to get something going here, but again, you're not allowed to make an engine change during practice or qualifying. It's about 3:17 to go here in qualifying. And once again, getting a nice look at the defending winner of this race from 2025. We'll show it during the broadcast. But a dead heat photo finish there between Mike Vincent Jr. and Sarah Taylor. Alex Graham and I were going bananas in the broadcast. He'll be on the call for tomorrow night's Daytona 2.4. 89 laps around the World Center of Racing here at the Daytona International Speedway, but we're just going to be rocking solo here for the rest of qualifying for GTLM, qualifying for GT Daytona, and the qualifying races as well. Sarah Taylor and Kasumi Takashi have gotten together in the bus stop. It looks like Caleb Rose also got a little piece of that there in car number 5, but looking at the cut line right now for what would be the race. Currently, the last driver in would be the 07 of Taylor Lay, and everybody beneath Taylor Lay would be out. So that's the cut line we're going to be paying attention to all throughout the 23-lap heat race. As Caleb Rose will go to the garage area. That'll do it for him for qualifying, with Rose currently on the outside. No, he is in 8th right now, so he'll be starting on the outside of row number 4. But again, this qualifying race is going to be 23 laps, and it is certainly going to be something here. Every car required to make one green flag pit stop. Of course, there's no cautions here for the heat races, so every car is just required to make at least a pit stop. Roberto Crown Jr. back in the fray in car number 3, and Caleb Rose will actually come back out in the 5, so I guess you are able to make some changes. So I'm not sure if the 33 is going to try and get anything going here. He's got maybe a chance to make one lap here. I don't know if he's going to get any drafting help, but taking a look at the GT Daytona cars, like we said, we got 30 of them as well. They'll be led by Daniel Bouchard. Joey Hightower will come down the pit lane, but Daniel Bouchard in that 08 machine, defending winner of this race, champion for last year, Esteban Lasser, driving the 066. GT Daytona is going to be pretty fun as well. We got 34 seconds to go here in regulation before we'll get probably about maybe 2 minutes of bonus time, as Crown Jr., oh, he's looking pretty fast right now on his outlap. See if he's able to start better than 30th. Probably, like we said, about 2 minutes to go here in qualifying. Some more drivers coming back out here to potentially put down one more lap. But it looks like that number 59 machine of Owen Miles will sit top of the board. It looks like we're going to get 3 minutes of bonus time. So Crown Jr. will get to the start-finish line, and he will get another chance to potentially put down a fast lap. And right now, would need to beat 137.652 to be ahead of the curve going into the 23-lap heat race. See if anybody is able to touch Owen Miles' time, the only one with a sub 137.2 second time. Yeah, he laid down a flyer of a lap, was second, rather 0.15 of a second faster than Riley Sampson on that lap. Let's see if anybody else will be able to put down a fast time, as Pedro Sabato in the 64 will rocket around here at the Daytona International Speedway right behind that 86 of Russell Blaze. Five machine coming in and out through the inner loop, and there's Roberto Crown Jr. He is going to get a nice push from the 90. See if Angel Gutierrez is able to give that 33 a nice shove going down the front straightaway. Time's not going to expire. So Roberto Crown Jr. will get another 30 seconds. We'll see what Crown Jr. was able to make there. And 137.991, so remain at the bottom of the grid. And for Crown Jr., that's not what he wanted to see. Wanted a little bit faster of a lap than that. Still got in the 137 bracket. But it looks like Owen Miles is going to sit on the pole for the Roar before the Daytona 2.4 for GTLM. There he is in the Exxon number 59 machine. He will go to the garage area. And here are your standings for the Roar before the Daytona 2.4. Owen Miles and Riley Sampson will start on the front row. Eric Monaco and Reggie Fogelman, the winner of this race from 2024, will be in row 2. And everybody on down. We'll be down here all the way down to Roberto Crown Jr. and James Lawson, who will start in row number 15 for the Roar for the Daytona 2.4. But that will do it here for the GTLM qualifying, and we'll quickly get over to GT Daytona qualifying for 15 minutes going on the board for GT Daytona before we'll set the cars off for the Roar before the 2.4 for both GT Le Mans and GT Daytona. And we are back here for GT Daytona qualifying for the Roar before the 2.4, and like we said, there is that number 8 machine of Daniel Bouchard, who will be the first one to teleport out on the pit lane, but not the first one to go out and try and put down a lap. That's going to belong to the number 25 of Dylan Ebrahimian, who will go out for qualifying here for GT Daytona 30 cars for GTD as well. And there's that 00 machine of Lauren Martinez, development driver for John Andrews in that Victoria's Secret Dodge Viper. Nathan Buchanan got a race win at Autumn Hill last year. Will come out in that Menards number 99. There's a new fresh face here, Landon Walker in that Xfinity number 18. Now driving the number 21. It's going to be Damian Karenko and Harley Davidson number 21 machine. There's the number 1, Bucky Campbell, taking over for Bruno Diacomo's car after Diacomo has switched over for GTLM for 2026. Priya McShane, there's a blast from the past all the way back to the inaugural New Year's 500 in 2020, but Priya McShane welcoming them back to the channel here in car number 22 in that Pennzoil machine. Aaron Abel back in the 98, trying to get back in the saddle for another potential run at the championship. And here's Chikira Takashi, sister of Kasumi Takashi, who will now be taking over that Bud Light number 46. There's Eric Blaze, father of Russell Blaze. Russell Blaze driving in GTLM. Eric will be driving the McDonald's number 9 in GT Daytona right behind them. That's the 27 of Harrison Fox. Along with the 75, Rogel Dorn. Coming over from the Mission Barbecue Cup Series, driving Juan Rodriguez's old car. There's the 41, Titan Nicholas, another driver that took a year off from GT Daytona, was the driver of the number 88 Dodge Dealers entry. Took off in 2025. He's back here in a Dodge for 2026, driving the Stunod Racing number 41. There's Kyler Anderson, development driver for Bradley Ream, taking over that Dodge Viper. The Brooke Paquette drove a new livery and a new number, now rocking the number 42 for GT Daytona. There's Esteban Lacer in the 066 coming over. And he was the champion last year, won that championship over Dylan Matthews, who is yet to come out on the track. There's a 7. It's going to be Joseph Wood in the Brandt number 7 machine. Daniel Bouchard getting a nice bump draft off the back end of that Brandt number 7 machine. Nathan Buchanan will jump to the top of the board with a 150. Samet Oskin in the 051. 032, we got Marcus Glitch making his debut here on the channel. And there's Dylan Matthews. We talked about it all throughout to the end of December. Dylan Matthews coming up short of a championship. Could 3 be the magic number for that 026? We'll see how the Daytona 2.4 will go for her. Is Igor Barreto back in the saddle in the number 14? Dylan Bohemian, like we said, he's back out here as he will jump to the top of the board. In that 025, there's a 011, Juan Carlos Espinoza making his debut for the North American Sim Racing Network. A couple more drivers coming out on their outlap. There's Logan Alexander in the 71. Right behind him, Carson Miller in the 72. You got Robert Mikhailovich, Project Wildflower number 56. Matt Lagacy is back in car number 60. And there is Connor Monaco, now in the TNT Man 93, number 93 machine. Going to drive the 21. Decided to drive the TNT Man 93 machine. They might have to change the livery on the back end of the 93 for tomorrow. Can't exactly tell where the number is on there, but we do know, hey, it's a TNT Man 93 machine, so it's makes sense that it's the 93. So we go back through the rest of the field. Jumping to the top of the board is Harrison Fox in the 027. There's Alexander Rowe in the Better Call Saul number 088. And here's another driver returning here. Will Parrish in the number Liqui Moly number 020 machine. Glad to have Will back in the saddle here. Drove in the Mission Barbecue Cup Series for 3 straight years. He's a regular season champion for 2023, if I'm not mistaken. Or 2022. It's either 2022 or 2024. I'm trying to remember, but glad to have Will back in the saddle here. There's Ryan Durrani in the 16. Aaron Abel is back out here, and I believe that should round out all 30 drivers. No surprise to see Logan Alexander top of the pylon in that 071 as everybody is out on track for GT Daytona. Of course, like we always say, this is the slower class, but there is still plenty of action to be had here between these GT Daytona cars. But tonight, it's going to be the only night that they're going to have the racetrack entirely to themselves and not have to worry about those GTLM cars. That will, of course, change tomorrow night with a 89-lap feature race to start the season for the FMGTC. Connor Monaco a little bit off track there in the 93. And he is all right. The 99 will trek up right behind that number 93 machine as everybody is on track. Currently, the cut line is between Dylan Bohemian, who fell off there on his second lap. That's between him and Daniel Bouchard. And now we got a new driver top of the charts. It's Aaron Abel in the 98. How about that? A 138.452. How about that? Only a second slower than the fastest time for GT Le Mans that Owen Miles set. Miles going to the top of the charts with a 137.165. And a second and 1.3 seconds slower than that, but for GT Daytona, that is well within the confines of a blazingly fast lap there from that 98 of Aaron Abel. There's Abel in that 98 machine, drove in the Loves American Truck Series. And the number 41 Texas Roadhouse machine, he's back in the Aloka, or Alcoa, I should say, number 98 car. Let's see if he's able to get another pretty fast lap here in that 98. Ryan Durrani will get up to second there. Not able to surpass that lap that last time by 1:39, so about a 0.6 of a second slower there for the 98 machine. Still, we got 7 minutes to go here in qualifying, and after this, a little bit later on tonight, will be the roar before the Daytona 2.4 for both classes. And it is definitely going to be a fun one here tonight. 23 laps, 2 different races for the roar before the Daytona 2.4. Lauren Martinez, a little bit of a draft right off the rear end of Robert Mikhailovich. That Victoria's Secret number 00 machine. And of course, you got Carson Miller. Was a contender in this race last year, but faltered a little bit later in the event. Remember, it was Dustin Davis who won this event a couple of years ago, if I'm not mistaken. Trying to see some drivers that have won this event in the past. Of course, Daniel Bouchard, 2-time winner of the Daytona 2.4, once when it was a special event, of course, last year, when it was an actual race for GT Daytona. The only driver to win it for both GT Daytona and GTLM. He won in Riley Sampson's old car back in 2021, the first ever rendition of this event. Trying to remember who was the winner. I believe it was Dustin Davis in the 72 who won this back in 2024, if I'm not mistaken. As the cars go around, focus on Samat Oskin there in the 51 here for a brief moment as it will go around turn number 4 and back towards the front straightaway. Seeing 2 different camera angles here. Very similar camera angles going down the front straightaway, so we might have to change that for tomorrow night. Still Aaron Abel, who's got a throttle hold of the top spot. He will be on the pole position unless anybody is able to run as flying of a lap as that 98 Viper was able to. Not a whole lot else to really write home about for any of these other drivers at the moment, however. Everybody just kind of running their own lines right now with 4 minutes to go here, so realistically about 6 minutes to go in qualifying. Right now, Samat Oskin second, right behind the 098. Ryan Durrani and the 71 of Logan Alexander would be in row number 2. But this is going to be an interesting set of races here. Like we said, the same thing for the roar before the 2.4 for GT Daytona. 23 laps, everybody must make at least one pit stop. The starting lineup will be based on the fastest time. But the winner of the heat race will gain some bonus points. I believe it is specifically 5 bonus points for specifically that is out and away is Juan Rodriguez. So yeah, the winner of the qualifier will win 5 bonus points. Actually, you know what? Since we got pit stops, you know what? A little brief change because I can do it. We're just not going to worry about the fastest lap times. It's just whoever wins the qualifier will be sitting on the pole position, and it's just too complicated. So basically, if you watch GTLM, we're just going to set the field based on the qualifying. Yeah, it's just a wee bit too complicated. And we'll go over the point structure going into the qualifier race here as well later on tonight in about an hour's time. But about 5 minutes to go here in qualifying for GT Daytona. And it's going to be a fun one here. Like what we always say is we'll take a look at the upcoming schedule here for the FlowMaster Grand Touring Championship, starting off with, of course, the Daytona 2.4, the Mike's Hard Lemonade 2.4 hours of Daytona. That will be tomorrow night at, I believe, we said it was 7:30 Eastern Time. We'll double check that here as we pull everything up. So yeah, the Mike's Hard Lemonade 2.4 hours of Daytona here at Daytona, and that will be trying to figure everything out here. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. It'll be an 8 o'clock start time for the Daytona 2.4. That'll be tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. 42 drivers will race for 2.5 hours, just under 2.5 hours. And then after that, we'll go out to California for a doubleheader with the Mission Barbecue Cup Series, the Willow Springs International Raceway. February 27th, we'll have the Napa California Grand Prix at Willow Springs. Then on March 15th, go back to the Northeast. It's going to be the Duncan New England Grand Prix from the Papyrus Motorsports Park on March 15th. And then on April 4th, on Easter weekend, it's going to be the Old Spice Easter Grand Prix at the Old Spice High Endurance Raceway. So Old Spice now coming up to the springtime race, the Easter race up in Wisconsin, with Clawhammer being added to the schedule. They'll race during August, but going back to the regular schedule, we have the Cinco de Mayo race, the Telcel Cinco de Mayo Grand Prix at Autódromo Hermanos Rodriguez, then the Canada Day Classic at Mosport a month and a half later. Then you've got the Independence Tucson. So we've got about 30 seconds to go. No, we got a minute 36 to go here in qualifying. Got the Firecracker at the Glen at Watkins Glen. Then we got the Clawhammer Classic at Clawhammer. That's going to be on August 8th. Then the Dollar General Thornton 13 at Thornton. The Long Island Fall Classic at Bridgehampton. The Spam Grand Prix of Schuylkill at Autumn Hill on Thanksgiving of 2026. And on Christmas of 2026, the California Christmas Classic at the Riverside International Raceway. Everything's shaping up here for the third season of competition for the FlowMaster Grand Touring Championship, and we are so glad to have everybody aboard. It's going to be a fun season, of course, with the 30 drivers in each class, and that's going to bump up the point values as well. We'll take a look at those on the other end here, on the other side of this broadcast break, when we go over to the whatever it's called. We go over to the Roar before the 2.4 for GTLM, because the top 9 that do not qualify will still get points for their respective positions. But 20 seconds to go here in qualifying for the Mike's Hard Lemonade 2.4 hours of Daytona. And like we said, I believe it's going to be that 098 machine, Aaron Abel, who will sit on the pole position for GT Daytona. And that will, nope, we got 30 more seconds to go, so one final chance for some other drivers to try and set a flying lap. I don't see Abel out on the track, nor the 51 of Oskin. There's Samat Oskin in car number 51. 10 seconds to go here. And Samat Oskin second on the grid, but he's not able to take down a flyer of a lap there on lap number 3 from Aaron Abel. And that will do it for qualifying For GT Daytona, Aaron Abel will go to the top of the charts for GT Daytona with a 138.42. So Matt Oskin will start on the outside pole. Right now, the cut line would be Robert Mikhailovich would be in, and Esteban Lacer, the defending champion for GT Daytona, would be the first one on the outside looking in. Same thing for Dylan Matthews in the 026. But that will do it for qualifying here from the Daytona International Speedway. And in about an hour's time, we will have the roar before the Daytona 2.4 for both classes here coming up here. Going to be 2 23-lap races to decide who will be in and who will be out here for the Mike's Hard Lemonade 2.4 hours of Daytona here tonight at the Daytona International Speedway.